It's My Nerd World, a Star Wars show. On this week's episode, Daisy Ridley makes comments about the Rey movie. I suspect I know why. And out of the blue, we get Bad Batch Season 3, a new poster, a new trailer, and a rather shocking release date. As always, thank you so much for taking time out to check out the podcast. You can go to mynerdworld.net to find out about all things My Nerd World and support My Nerd World. If you're a reader, pick up your copy of the EMBARK science fiction space opera series, an exciting mix of Fast and the Furious, Star Wars, Ready Player One, and the science fiction adventures of the 70s through the 2000s, available on Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net.
It's an instinct. A feeling. The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together. Is your undoing. Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
My Nerd World.
And welcome to it. My name is Jon Justice. I'm your host every week here on a Star Wars show. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. As always, if you want to email TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. If you're watching, listening on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you always get updated when new videos pop up, and leave a comment on YouTube, whatever is on your mind. I love hearing from you and sharing your comments on the show. Relatively short show this week, not a whole lot going on. We did get a Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. I'll talk a little bit about that. In terms of news, we have a little bit of behind the scenes. So it seems as if that Disney has done a pretty decent job of stemming the negative criticism in the wake of the comments by the Rey film director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy that had dominated so much of the Star Wars online community commentary over the course of the past few weeks. The turning of the tide, if you will, towards positivity certainly was helped by the announcement of the Mandalorian and Grogu film. Haven't heard really much about that since that announcement a couple of weeks back. Also, word that the Rey film was postponed indefinitely, doing that thing with my fingers. There was quite a bit of talk about what that meant. It just means at the moment, my interpretation is they don't have a set date for when this is going to come out. It was rumored that the film would be getting underway, would start filming later this year, but apparently the script for the film isn't finished, or the writer of the script, Stephen Knight, had to go back and do a rewrite after having the script turned in and looking for some changes to what he had written. It does appear the film is still going to take place, will be filmed and released at some point later on down the line. We just don't know when. I have a little added commentary to add to that before we get to the Bad Batch news. However, we do have some more recent news. And listen, this may all be genuine and authentic coming from Daisy Ridley. It's an actress that hasn't really weighed in politically, which is nice to see. She hasn't had a ton of success out of Star Wars, and that tends to happen a lot with Star Wars actors and actresses. when you get involved in these franchises. She's certainly done her share of movies, but nothing even close to the amount of success and the level that Star Wars has brought her, which is probably partly the reason why she's doing another Star Wars film. She was interviewed by Variety, and she did have this to say: "The story is cool as blank, S-word. No spoilers, but Charmin Obaid-Chinoy gave me a rundown of the entire story. If it weren't amazing, I would have been like, okay, call me in 5 years, but it's worthwhile." That's what Daisy Ridley had to say to Variety. Here's a little bit more. The question was, "You're reprising your role as Rey in the new Star Wars movie, directed by Ramin Obaid-Chinoy. How will the franchise's first female filmmaker impact the series?" The short answer, she says, is, "I don't know." That was a smart move on Daisy Ridley's part. "I'm excited to do the job, but not because Charmin is a woman. Her documentaries are amazing. Her idea for the story is cool as blank. No spoilers, but she gave me a rundown of the entire story. If it weren't amazing, I would have been like, okay, call me in 5 years, but it's worthwhile." And listen, hat tip to Daisy Ridley for making that comment. She's excited to do the job, not because Charmin is a woman. Yeah. Will it be weird to make a Star Wars movie without your co-stars, Adam Driver, John Boyega, and Oscar Isaac? That's a really interesting way to try to find out whether or not they're in this film, which has also been rumored. It's also been rumored that Daisy Ridley may be receiving a paycheck upwards of $12 million, or $12.5 million, I think is what was exactly reported. She goes on to say, "No, because I don't know what is or who is in the new movie. So much has happened for me since the Skywalker saga. I feel like a grown-up now. When I first started, I was like 20. I was the youngest on the set. It took the first 2 years of Star Wars films to feel worthy of being there. Now, in my 30s, the whole thing feels quite different. I've been able to do work with other filmmakers, and hopefully I've got better as a performer." Yeah. Listen, it's a really diplomatic answer from Daisy Ridley. She's not dumb, and that's a good way to go and frame it. And as I've said all along, I didn't appreciate the comments that I heard from Ramin Obaid-Chinoy. I thought they were pretty ignorant in terms of saying that it's time for a woman to craft a story, even though we kind of all knew what she meant. She needed to be more specific in that. Her previous comments about making men upset, I'm just not even going to get into that again. I am excited for this film. And I have said that from the get-go, I'm especially excited with this being a post-Rise of Skywalker film because I really do enjoy the sequel trilogy. And I hope they make something good and a good story, not something that checks all of these DEI boxes. Make a good story. You know what makes characters relatable? What they go through as people. That's what makes characters relatable. Unfortunately, we've gotten to a place in Hollywood now where it's all about identity and checking off these boxes to try to meet certain demographics so that people they believe will relate to them. We don't relate to individuals based off their identity. We relate to individuals based off of our shared experiences, regardless of who they are. Right? Anyway, enough of my ranting. So, quick commentary, and then I want to get to a little bit of Bad Batch and the season 3 trailer dropping. Excuse me. Yeah. It's been a long day. I haven't had a nap, and this is the second podcast I've done today along with my radio show. So, I was thinking about this a bit on my drive home from work today and doing the podcast, and the difficulties how difficult it must be for Lucasfilm right now. They're filling in all the gaps of the storytelling. You know, the initial films all took place within a very relatively small timeline, while the 3 trilogies were set apart from each other by decades. Then they began, as Disney took over, to fill in the gaps between the films, between episodes 3 and 4, between episodes 6 and 7, and they start to fill in those gaps. And soon, there's not going to be much room left to tell stories within those decades between the 3 trilogies, because the stories will have been told. When we get through with the Mandoverse story, we will probably have a good idea of where the First Order came from, and while you may be able to tell sort of one-off adventures, in terms of the larger galaxy implications, you're going to have filled in those gaps. When we finish with Andor, it's going to lead right into Rogue One. When we finish with the Bad Batch, you're looking at the tail end of the Clone Wars. I mean, all these gaps are filling in. So if we're looking at live-action animated content, then you've got to go pre The Phantom Menace and tell all new stories, which they're doing with the High Republic. A part of the storytelling that I have not ventured into yet at all. We'll begin to see that in live action with The Acolyte. But then on the other side, you're going post The Rise of Skywalker, post everything that came before it. So you have to tell something all brand new and fresh. And that's got to be a difficult undertaking. To want to bring about something new to Star Wars, invite a new generation, but understand there is an old generation that has very high expectations for the story you're going to be telling. It must be difficult to go and land on a story and craft a story that you can tell moving forward that's not overly derivative of what came before it. I certainly would not want to be involved in that type of task, which may speak to the difficulties that Lucasfilm has had in trying to get these films out, considering we're going to be some 7 years out, maybe 8 years out by the time we get to a post The Rise of Skywalker film. Obviously not as long for the Mando and Grogu story. All right, let's get to the news that dropped this week.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
The Bad Batch Season 3 trailer sends in the clones for one last fight. Reading an article here from Ben Travis. Buckle up, Bad Batch fans. This is the final ride. As revealed at Star Wars Celebration in 2023, the latest animated series in a galaxy far, far away is about to draw to a close with a third and final season. But if the trailer is anything to go by, it won't be ending with a whimper. There's a major bang to be found in this first look at Clone Force 99's Swan Song, pitching our heroes into the dark heart of the Empire on a rescue mission. By the looks of things, this could be the strongest season of the Bad Batch yet, with Omega captured by the Empire and her clone brothers attempting to break her out. Plus, we have a glimpse at the return of Ming-Na Wen's Fennec Shand and a flash of Cad Bane, and a voiceover courtesy of the ominous tones of the Emperor Palpatine himself. And what was that? Asajj Ventress with a yellow lightsaber and, more importantly, hair. This will be the first time we've seen Ventress on screen since the Clone Wars, and it looks to follow her evolution in the novel Dark Disciple. Now, she was apparently supposed to have died in Dark Disciple. I did not read that book, spoiler alert. But they have said that they will make sure that they explain why she is still alive. More excitingly, and I couldn't agree more, we'll be able to get stuck into the Bad Batch in just 1 month's time. The season begins streaming on Disney Plus on the 21st of February with a 3-episode drop. Get ready for the beginning of the end. I know that my son Kyle is desperate for tech to re-emerge, and it's pretty clear that they do end up getting Crosshair back. I'm still convinced that Tech is not coming back, but we didn't see a body, so it remains to be seen. Listen, I really enjoyed The Bad Batch. I'm going to start a rewatch of The Bad Batch soon. The only complaint that I have about The Bad Batch, it's not really a complaint, is there were a lot of doing that thing with my fingers filler episodes. Episodes that didn't lend themselves to a longer story arc that were basically sort of one-offs. By the looks of it with Season 3, given the stakes and the difficult position that some of the main characters are in, I'm venturing a guess that this season will be less adventure of the week and more about telling a full cohesive story from beginning to end, something along the lines of what we got with Ahsoka. A show that I have not gotten burnt on watching, almost to the point where I'm embarrassed when somebody comes down to find out what I'm doing in my free time, only to see Ahsoka is on and to have them roll their eyes at me going, "Why are you watching Ahsoka again?" It's because I just much. It's really quite simple. But I'm excited. We get some new Star Wars here coming up in less than a month. That was not my expectation, but it certainly was a welcome surprise. As always, I'd love to hear from you and your thoughts. Drop me an email, talkshownerd@gmail.com.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
All right, first off, we'll go to N. Blackie. A little bit of negativity here. God, I hope they cancel the Rey movie. I have no desire to see it. I was so turned off that it was slated to be the next theatrical release. I'm not overly thrilled about a mango movie. Mando and Grogu. Mango movie. By a Mando Grogu movie. But I'll take anything over a Rey movie. Okay. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion. I, for one, am looking forward to it. I love Rey as a character. And again, I love her portrayal in The Rise of Skywalker. Her character is fantastic in that film. Across the Stars also writes in this week, you weren't negative, John, as I was talking about last week. You were just giving your opinion. Nothing wrong with that. Totally agree about the Book of Boba Fett. Some of my favorite Star Wars moments are in that show. Mando getting his new ship and Luke training Grogu were amazing. Totally with you on the Reylo storyline. In my opinion, it was the most interesting thing about the sequel trilogy. And I know you feel Ben had a proper ending, but I'm in the camp that feels his death wasn't necessary. I'll always feel that character was wasted, but that's just me. I'm looking forward to the Mando movie, writes Across the Stars. Thank you for writing in this week, as always, and I would like to hear from you. So drop me an email for listener feedback, talkshownerd@gmail.com. So like I said, keeping it short this week. Not a lot going on, but it was exciting to see that Bad Batch 3 season trailer. Listen, the animation and the storytelling in the Bad Batch is just fantastic. And the trailer looked every bit of what I would have expected. And I can't wait to share with you my thoughts of the Bad Batch Season 3 once that series wraps up and starts rolling here in about a month. And that's it for this week's episode. So if you've been listening to the show for a while, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. If you're a new listener of the show and you're a reader, I hope you'll take a moment and hear my pitch for my science fiction space opera series, EMBARK. If you want to support my nerd world and you like to read science fiction, I have written a 7-book complete series. You can treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with science fiction. It's written for adults, but it is great for ages 11 plus. Think Star Wars in terms of the content. No language, and the violence is on par with that. You can pick up EMBARK Book 1 today, available in ebook and Kindle Unlimited. Also, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook, all on Amazon.com, but you can purchase hardcovers and paperbacks of all 7 books in the series, one at a time, all at once, doesn't matter. I have hardcovers, again, and paperbacks available. All you have to do is email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com, and I'll give you the details on how you can purchase hardcovers and paperbacks from me. Shipping is uber cheap when you purchase it from me. They're actually cheaper than what you can buy them on Amazon, and I'll autograph them for free. The description for Book 1 in the EMBARK series, which I encourage you to pick up today: Taft has found something, and humanity won't survive without it. With interstellar travel possible, ship mechanic Taft Guardia prepared one day to travel the galaxy. But when an industrial accident inside a D-Corp civilian and military spacecraft factory sets off an apocalyptic chain of events, exploring the stars becomes a matter of survival. As the global evacuation begins, the ruthless Sin Argum of D-Corp threatens to destroy every vessel not loyal to his regime. Meanwhile, fellow pilot Keith Amaro suddenly receives a cryptic message from her father, an aerospace engineer who died 1 year earlier. When Taft and Keitha discover what may be the key to saving Earth's evacuees, they become unwittingly tied to the catastrophe and must solve the mystery of her father's past before it's too late. Don't miss this fast-paced and action-packed space opera science fiction adventure. If you like your sci-fi filled with action, romance, then EMBARK is perfect for you. Again, on Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net, you can pick up the ebook for just 99 cents, and there's a special on the full series in ebook. You can get that for about $3.99 as well, if you want to get the entire series all in one shot in ebook. all on Amazon.com or mynerdworld.net, and email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com, and you can order any of the books in the series, and again, individually or as a group, directly from me, a discount from what you would purchase them on Amazon. All right, that's my pitch. I hope you check out my science fiction space opera series. It's a lot of fun. People have read them and left nice reviews. And by the way, if you have read the books and have not left a review, please take a moment, hop over to Amazon and drop a review. I can always use more reviews. They certainly help in the promotion and selling of the book series beyond the podcast. That's it for this week. I hope wherever you are happy, you're healthy, and you're safe. And I'll talk to you again next week from the world of Star Wars.
The Force will be with you, always.
My Nerd World.